Good morning, everyone. My name's Stuart Sand, and I'm currently acting as the Executive Director of Information and System Performance. And I thank you all for joining us today. I'd first like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we've gathered on today. Here at Royal Street, it's the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and we're very privileged to share this beautiful country, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Just a disclaimer, first up, that this session is being recorded for people who aren't lucky enough to join us today. And the sessions today are about raising awareness for how we collect, manage and use patient activity data. Data and information is the centre of everything we do at the Information and System Performance Directorate here in the department. So we're very happy to be sharing information about how we do that with all of you today. As you know, information is one of the most valuable assets in the WA health system, probably second only to our staff and infrastructure. And like all valuable assets, we need to put in place mechanisms that make sure that we can actually get the most out of that asset, the most benefit we can. So you're going to hear today about policies, business rules, and actually how ISPD uses data, patient activity data, to get the most out of that information. I'd like to thank all of the team within ISPD for pulling together today's session and all of the information for the 22-23 year. It's been quite a difficult year to pull this together. Obviously, we've been very cognizant of the pressures across the whole system, and the department's has endeavoured to try and minimise, or it's been difficult with the consultation process, trying to minimise the burden on HSPs. But I do want to thank the ISPD team, but also our key stakeholders at HSPs who have helped us get to where we are today with our information policies. So thank you very much to everyone in the HSPs who's been a part of that process. So I'll start the session now. I'll pass you over to Kath Allaway, who's going to be guiding us through the day's session.
Thank you, Stuart, and good morning, everyone. I'm Kathleen Allaway. I'm a Principal Policy Officer in Policy and Governance team here, and today I will be your facilitator and providing you with an introduction to today's program and the patient activity data policy. Thank you all very much for taking time out of your busy workday to attend today's patient activity data showcase. And I must say it was very pleasing to see such interest and the forwarding of invites to others. So I will apologise now for perhaps some duplication of received. Today we will be providing you with an overview of the patient activity data policy revision and the work of our data collections. We will take a look at how compliance with policy requirements are monitored and improved through our quality and assurance activities. In the second part, we're going to expand on how the data is used within some of our other key functions of the department, looking at activity-based funding, related processes such as the National ABF team, modelling, costing, also system analytics and performance management. So we've got lots of good stuff in store for you. You can submit a question at any time by using the Q&A button, which should be at the top of your screen. There's a little plus button, apps, it should be next to that. If it isn't there, you can add it by clicking on the apps button. However, we have received a few questions from people that have registered to attend. So hopefully all your questions will be answered in the content today. We have allowed time at the end of each presenter to do a few questions. Throughout the day, the upcoming program will be shown so you can see what is coming up in case you need to leave us and return, or you have some interest in a particular session. We would, of course, encourage you to join us for all or as many of the presentations as possible, because I'm really confident that you'll get value from today, leaving with a greater knowledge and understanding of patient activity data collection, processing and utilisation. It will be an excellent opportunity for you to see what happens with all that data that is collected. Our intention is to give you the confidence that your data just does not just disappear down the black hole with all the odd socks.
Started outpatient queries too. So that's when that record was sent last.
Right, we're going on a bit of a journey today. And as you can see at a quick glance at this lovely colourful pictorial, it's quite a busy journey. This demonstrates the patient activity journey once it arrives here in the Information System and Performance Directorate, and it commences throughout. It starts really with how the data is collected in the HSPs at the time of admission and the emergency department and the outpatient attendances. And it continues through on this journey through various processes to other users, including, as you can see, a full circle and back to you in some forms of inputs and outputs. Well, we don't have time to see everything on this journey today, but we have planned a few stopovers with excursions to show you some highlights. So if you could please sit back, if you could please mute your mics and close off your cameras if you want, because that does facilitate the streaming, because we do have quite a few people online today. So today we're going to travel through the Information and System Performance Directorate. We call it ISPD. We have gathered together a team of staff tour guides to provide you with some insights of the patient activity data journey. The patient activity data is processed and analysed and transformed by the teams you see on the right into a range of information outputs to internal and external users. I think this might be a good time to give you an acronym alert. Patient activity data policy is a bit of a mouthful to keep repeating, so we do tend to use the term the PAD or PAD policy when we are referring to any part of the patient activity data policy suite of documents. We do love our acronyms in health, and I can guarantee you may see some unfamiliar ones today, but we will endeavour to provide you with some full terms and descriptions. We're starting off today in the Information and System Performance Directorate team of Information and Performance Governance. In this team, we call it IPG. There are 3 units. We have the data management team who look after the patient activity and the statutory data collections. The policy and governance team, which are responsible for the information and performance policy management framework. And our quality and assurance team, which includes data quality, audit, and the clinical classification for the data collections. This morning, we're going to hear from data management and quality assurance teams. So zooming in on our roadmap, we'll start our journey with the arrival of the patient activity data. Stops 1, 2, and 3 are sort of like governance, checking and preparing processes before the data goes into these data collections. It's a roadway, it's not exactly linear all the time. Sometimes it's a little bit toing and froing between here, and down here. So the important thing is that it really does all start with the patient activity data policy. So we'll stop 1 on our journey is that policy. The evolution of the patient activity data policy probably began quite seriously back in 2012 with the implementation of activity-based funding, which, as the name suggests, is funding linked to activity, and hence we recognise the need for some robust policy and direction on the recording and reporting of activity. Some of you may recall we started with what was the ARDT policy for admission activity, and this was followed by subacute, non-acute and non-admitted policies. And these documents evolved over the years, and they did tend to vary in format, colours, consistency and duplication of content. And there was definitely some, policy missing for some of our data collections. So last year, we brought it all together under a one-stop shop, the Patient Activity Data Policy Document Suite. We created business rules and data specifications and dictionaries for each of the patient activity data collections. I'd like to refer you also to our information compendium, which is a supporting document, and it provides additional information such as those large reference lists, some extra guides and procedure lists, some information about the data collections, just extra information that we hope will help inform and guide users. Here for your future reference is all the documents, and the links are there too. So, why do we have this patient activity data policy? Well, it is really essential for us to ensure and maintain the integrity of data that is critical to the management of the WA health system. As the patient is collected in our health service, patient data is collected in our health services, they have an obligation and a responsibility to correctly report that activity. So to facilitate this, the PAD provides a framework of rules, criteria and data specifications for our health services to follow. You could consider it like the concept of the patient activity data business rules being your gateway to data heaven. And from here, your data is blessed and counted in. And behind these gates, it undergoes some transformation into heavenly information and knowledge products that inform a very wide range of users. There are obviously too many uses to mention in great detail today, but as you can see, looking at this slide, there are management, financial, clinical, government, legislative, etc. You can see some of the key stopovers and destinations here for the patient activity data. And today, you will get to hear more about some of these and also a variety of examples of the hard-working patient activity data. The revision cycle for the PAD commences now after it's been released, and we collect feedback from our stakeholders from July right through to February. And in the new year, we commence revision of the content. We produce draft policy documents, which we send out for consultation and feedback in April. And this includes stakeholders in public and private health services, internally here in the department, HSS and others. This year, we received a total of 64 feedback submissions. And the feedback was generally positive. The PAD policy new documents were well received and acknowledged the importance of how they're improving the integrity of patient activity data. Some of the key strengths were how the documents are very clear and concise, covering all relevant areas and making it clear on the responsibilities between the Department of Health and our health services. Some feedback was that it's an essential and regularly used reference document. So thank you for that positive feedback. Okay, here is the program for the first part of the showcase. At 11, after the 11:30 presentation, we're just going to quick break so that we can get a cup of tea or whatever, and then we will commence at midnight. Our first stop, we will be taking you a look at our inpatient data within the hospital morbidity data collection and the associated elective services waitlist data